Well, anyway, back to Ezekiel here in Ezekiel 39, 8, and 10. He says, he describes the burning of the arms of the enemy, not physical arms, but their weapons, in consequence of complete victory to obtained by the Israelites over Gog and Magog. We know all about that there. About, behold, it shall come to pass, and it is done, saith the Lord Jehovah. This is a day of which I spoke, and the inhabitants of the cities of Israel shall go forth, and shall set on fire the armor and the shield, the buckler, the bow, the arrows, the clubs, the lances. And they shall set them on fire for 7 years. Now, I don't really believe, if you understand numerology among the Israelites, 7 and 6 numbers were special to them. When they say 6 million Jews were gassed, there was never 6 million Jews gassed. That is a sacred number for the Jews, 6. Everybody knows it was probably half that amount. So when they exaggerate that, they're trying to exaggerate that because that's a sacred number to them, number 6. That's why they always say 6 million Jews. How did they know that? Were they there to count exactly 6 million bodies? And who counted them? That's a sacred number they use, like the sacred number 7. So when you see these numbers sometime, if you know numerology in the Bible, you'll understand sometime when they say 1 million people was on the battlefield, you can figure there was 100,000 on the battlefield. I've read this from scholars, from Hebrew scholars that tell you these exaggerated numbers in the Bible. They said they usually multiply it by 100 because that's just the way they did things. If you say 1,000 were slain, you can figure 100 were slain. Because there was never 1 million Jews on the battlefield. There was never really 100,000 Jews on the battlefield. Israel was always small. So those numbers are exaggerated. Why they did that, I don't know. And some people say, well, that's why the Bible's got so many errors. Look at that. There was no way. No, it was a way if you understand their numbers, how they use numbers. To them, it was honest. To us, it's exaggerated. And I've studied all this out to know that's how they did it. Because I was troubled for years about these big numbers because I thought, there ain't no way. There's no way. Israel being the smallest of all nations to have that many people on the battlefield. And those were men. And when they would say they was all destroyed or so many were destroyed, they could multiply that fast to have another 150,000 people out there. All that. Those were exaggerated numbers, but to them they were not exaggerated. That's the way they used numbers. Now these are coming from Hebrew people that knew all that I'm quoting from, telling you how they come up with these big numbers. So back to this here. I believe they did all this here. But back to my 7 years. How long would it take to burn weapons for 7 years? Now someone do some math for me. Give me 7 times 365. I see your heads working. Come on, I'm not a mathematician. Some of you are. Some of you's got degrees out there. Come on. What is 3? Get a piece of paper and figure it out for me. 2295. That's 2,295 days. Is that correct? Okay, you're talking about Gog and Magog. Now, I believe Gog and Magog has already been come and gone in Ezekiel 38 and 39. Some people say it's future. Our future's, if you're going to take it into the future, which I am not, I believe it's already happened. If you're talking about Gog and Magog, you're talking about, if you read how many numbers, they say first it was Russia, then it was China, then it's the Muslims. I mean, I don't care who it is. That's a lot of people. They say 100 million people out there with 100 million weapons and tanks and guns. It may take 7 years to burn that many tanks and weapons if they're made of metal. But we're talking about bows and arrows, lances and clubs. We're talking, come on, he's not describing modern day warfare. Read it for yourself. He's describing things that they used in primitive days. Tommy Ice and all these guys that go up in the future, Gog and Magog is yet to come. You're not going to beat out there and that Jezreel out there with Israel and all this big stuff's going to go. That's already happened, honey. Centuries ago! Centuries ago, Gog and Magog's already been done. I mean, I can prove it to you. That's already come and gone. We're not going to look for no great big thing out there about burning the weapons. What would you throw on, let's say there was 1 million tanks on the field. What would you throw on them? Gasoline? 7 years throwing gasoline on a tank to try to get it to burn. Get out of here, man. This is ridiculous. I'm not getting in Ezekiel 38 and 39, but I can tell you one thing. I've already studied that out, and I do not believe that's future. Now, you can take it up with the Bible yourself. And they shall not bear wood from the field, neither shall they hew from the forest, for of the armor shall they make their fires. They're not going to go get trees. They're going to cut any trees. They're not going to gather up any wood and throw this on this pile of armor. They're going to take the bows, the arrows that was made of wood, and they set them on fire. That's going to be the fire. And I have doubts it's 7 years. That's probably a number they're using in not even exaggeration, some sacred number they're using there to let you know it could be like 7 months or 7 weeks. I have a doubt that it took them 7 years to burn that many weapons. That would be an awful big bonfire, and that would be an awful lot of weapons. It depends, maybe. I could understand it if you set one bow on fire, and when that was burning, and then you threw another on. Who's going to stand after 7 years throwing a bow on, and then an arrow on, and then a war club on for 7 years until all this is burned up? You know what? We just pass over all this. We think, wow, 7 years, man, that's got to be one hell of a mess out there. Probably wasn't. I know one thing, they did burn them, and they got rid of them because God ordered the burning of that. And Ezekiel, like he said, Ezekiel's putting that out there. And then it says they shall spoil their spoilers, and they shall plunder their plunderers. Take what you get off the dead bodies that you want, the gold, the silver, you take it for yourself, but take their weapons, because that means destruction, and you throw them on the fire, and it burns for 7 years, or maybe 7 weeks, or maybe even 7 days. I don't know. You know, if you go back, I think I'm studying about the 69th and 70th week, you figure that up. Those weeks means years. So you can't figure this is actually 7 long years there they're burning. But my point is, I'm trying to show you, in finishing up today, that what's that mean to us? What's that mean to us? Well, that means probably, if you want to take it right on down to the core of everything inside of us, that we have some burning of enemy things to do within our own hearts. Now, we as a group here, on more than one occasion, have taken what we would consider idols, charms, fetishes, trinkets, trash, unwanted garbage, enticements, temptations, and we have taken those things out of our camp, and we've made big bonfires. As we well know, we've done this, and we've thrown it on a big fire, and we set a fire to it, and we burn all that stuff up. And we say we're burning up whoredoms, or things that would cause us to commit whoredom on God. So if you're going to get down to that, it's appropriate to do that. We burned up, whatever is an idol to you. It could be your Grateful Dead album. It could be a picture of something you like. It could be a ring. It could be a charm. It could be whatever is something that is an idol in your life. You're to take that and burn it. Now that's what that means to us about burning these implements. Because those things, friend, war against us.
I urge you as sojourners and exiles to abstain from the passions of the flesh which wage war against your soul.
That's the spirit war, about the spiritual warfare, about those things can actually war against us. Now, I know, in experience, we've had things in our possession as a group and as individuals. Now, I'll give you a case in point to be emphatic that, okay, someone gave my daughter a ring. That's when she was a little girl. And it had a gold head on it. It was a nice gold ring. I remember seeing it and we thought, what's nothing wrong with that? It's just a goat head. Just a goat head. And my daughter began to have some real demonic problems. I mean, real bad demonic problems. I mean, really bad, where we had to exercise some deliverance on her. And I do remember, this is the only time I've ever been scared in deliverance. I've been through a lot of deliverance sessions. I've seen a lot of people getting deliverance from demons. We cast out a lot of demons. But this particular time, in connection with this particular ring, when I was working deliverance on my daughter, I forget how old she was. My wife remembers all these details. I keep looking at her because she remembers. How old was she? 7 or 8 years old. I was casting devils out of her, and I remember there was a devil that manifested in her that would not come out. And that devil was literally taking her breath. I mean, it was actually strangling her, and I actually panicked because I've never seen this happen before. She turned blue like someone choking where they couldn't get their breath. She started turning blue and she became limp like she was dying right there. And she was dying. This damn devil was choking her to death in that deliverance session. And I panicked. I thought, well, I'm using the name of Jesus. I've used everything I know to do. And here she is dying. I mean, she was not breathing. She just was going right there. I remember holding her in my arms when I was doing this. And then I happened to see the ring and I jerked that stinking ring off. And that thing just went away like that. I can't help it. I just almost want to cry when I think of that. Because that scared me that something would kill my own daughter. An innocent thing like a ring. That ring, I found out, was a Satanist ring. The goat head. You know, you go into some of these things, you're pretty stupid at times. And it was a Satanist ring someone gave her to curse her. And none of us knew this until she started manifesting all these problems. And that thing literally tried to kill her. Well, we became aware of that after that as a group. This happened before we had this group. And then we began to be aware of objects that you can wear, you can have in your possessions. You can do all this stuff. And this is what made us aware of how demonic the church has become. I mean, I am shocked to see how many demonic ornaments that Christians wear today. For instance, yesterday, and I'll close with this. This man came into our prayer booth we have on Saturdays at the Indian market. He sat down there. He had his cowboy hat on. He took it off politely, put it down. And I looked up and down this guy. First of all, he had a big Indian spearhead hanging on his neck here. Probably was cursed. And then he had a shirt on that said Jack Daniels whiskey. And of course we asked him, are you Christian? Oh yeah, I'm Christian. And then he had 2 huge rings here, 2 huge rings here, pure gold, just gaudy. And I think he had some other big ornaments on his wrist, all this stuff all over here. I thought, my God, this guy is cursed. And of course he was cursed. He was coming in there, had all kinds of problems. I didn't even have time to tell him, if you took off that arrowhead around your neck, you might be relieved, because most arrowheads are prayed over and cursed over by Native Americans. You don't know that. I know that, because I used to collect them. And they do that to curse people with their curses. And then, of course, he had all these ornaments. And the most obvious thing was this huge shirt he had, Jack Daniels written on both sides. You've seen these big shirts. Jack Daniels is a Jack Daniels whiskey. Some of the worst rot gut stuff you can drink. Why is a Christian wearing all that stuff? He comes in, I've got mental problems, I've got marital problems, I've got health problems. He had everything in the book wrong with him. I said, you need a total overhaul. How can you explain this to people in 5 minutes at a prayer booth, the things that you know is wrong in their lives, like what we know? I mean, we find this so many times, all this stuff that people wear all over their bodies. No wonder they got diabetes. No wonder they got curses. No wonder they're full of cancer. No wonder they got all this stuff wrong. It's the stuff they put on their bodies. It's stuff what they eat. It's what they look at. It's what they wear. Now you think I might be exaggerating, and you might think, well, you're one of those old holiness people, think you shouldn't wear this, you shouldn't wear that. Friend, I am somebody that has had plenty of experience in this type of field, knowing that there are objects that will curse your life if you have them in your possession or if you have them on your body. I know this. And you wonder why there's so many Christians cursed? We have tons of Christians coming in that prayer booth that are sick, dying, diseased, got every problem in the world, and I'd take one look at them and you ask them, have you ever been born again? Oh, I'm born again. I go to church. And alcohol, they're half drunk or all the way drunk. They got all this stuff all over them. They're a hell of a mess. They're falling apart, and they're Christians. Back to this story about burning these things. These things can burn in you. I mean, idols can burn holes in your life in God. Now, I'm not saying you need to go to your house and throw everything in a dump. I'm just saying there are things that could be something you really love a lot and is keeping you from God, or something that's really cursed. I've had cursed objects. I know what they can do. And I see them in people's homes. I see all this stuff in people's Christians' homes. I thought, no wonder you're sick. You'll never be well till you get rid of these things. You know, you got occult objects everywhere. Well, enough of that. But I tell you, if you take this message today serious at all, my listeners, then you might want to check your own heart out, check your own house out to see what maybe you have that is causing you poverty, sickness, disease, all kinds of problems, friend. Maybe it's something that you are wearing, something you have. It's something that is cursing your life that you might want to get rid of, because we need to burn those things I mean, if it's something you can't burn physically, you can at least get it out of your life. You can burn it out of your memory. You can do something. This is warfare. That's why God, friends, wanted a lot of those things to be burnt, because He didn't want people to go get those things and reuse them. Well, I'm picking up, I was a rock and roll star. I got saved, now I'm going to pick up my rock and roll music. I'm going to do it for Jesus. You better burn that stuff.
But beyond that, there is not a peace against sin. You must fight and contend against sin and against the devil.
It's not cut. The wire hasn't been cut. Lord help us, we're dead men.
Devastated the enemy. They smashed him, they spoiled his goods, they took everything that was there, that was of value, and they confiscated all of it. Praise God. And it says, for there fell down many slain, because the war was of God. Yes. The war was of God. God's not afraid to slay the enemy.